Hi, everyone, and welcome to my Real Estate Investor Hangout. I am so glad you made it here tonight, and I'm glad you're joining me on the show. I have some kind of distortion on my computer, so it looks a little distorted to me, but hopefully everything's looking good on your side of the camera. So I posted a poll up there. If you could fill out any comments you have, whether you have wholesale deals, rentals, or flips. This gives me an idea of my audience so I can help them and know where to pitch certain topics and to what level, depending on your experience as a real estate investor. So I'm so glad you joined me tonight. I put out a couple surveys to get some questions from investors, and I want to dig in and answer some of the most common questions that real estate investors have. So I did what I did was, I guess, summarize the questions that came in and kind of put them in categories so that we had kind of general questions that really applied to everyone. So I'm going to adjust the screen a little bit here, see if that helps with the, see if I can. No, that doesn't help at all. All right, we'll leave it there. All right. I'm going to try an intro. And if that intro video doesn't work, then we'll cut it out. I've been having issues with the webinar jam support this week, trying to just figure out how it all works. So I'm just going to play a brief video and then welcome you to the show. All right, welcome to the show. Welcome to my Real Estate Investor Hangouts. I do the show every Thursday night, and I'm going to post up a poll for you guys to, there we go, for you guys to fill out so I know what experience you have when you come to me as a viewer. And I'm so glad you came to the Hangout. I love having everyone here on Thursday night, and tonight we're going to do a Q&A. So I've got some questions that I summarized that people sent in. And thanks for responding to the survey. So a lot of questions real estate investors have when they first come to real estate investing stem from the fact that it's so complicated. There's a lot of different topics you need to master, and a lot of the information on the internet makes it sound like it's super easy. Go make some money. You can make thousands of dollars in the next couple of weeks. So, that's my pitch. No. So you need to study up on some of these and be really good at some of these topics. And so I'm going to just cover some of the main questions that came in. And in order to kick that off, I'm going to start out with what I've laid out as what I call my real estate investor matrix. So when you're starting out, what you want to do is use your best resources wisely. So I'm going to screen share that and show you what the matrix looks like, and then give you a few pointers. And then we'll jump right in to question number 1. So let me do a screen share here. Here we go. Just make that smaller. All right. So here's our screen share. All right. So I've got some pictures behind here that I'll show you as we get to certain topics. But this is the real estate investor matrix. And if you've registered for my Hangouts, you get this email to you every week, because if you're a new subscriber, you wouldn't have had it the week before. Anyway, it's just a basic PDF. And the 4 resources that you would have, the 4 strengths, would be cash, credit, time, and skills. And those are in the white circles. And then from those resources that really anyone has in the open market who's not a real estate investor, then in the green, you can utilize those resources to become one of the 4 types of investors. And I suggest that people pick the one that they have the best resources for to start out. So we'll go over those. A lot of people come in and they start out as a wholesaler. And that's what I suggest if you have time and skills, not that much cash and not that much credit. So notice it's at the bottom of the page and it has the time resource pointed to it and the skills resource. Well, even if you don't have the skills, that's something you can develop. And there's a lot of information you can get for free in order to become a wholesaler. Now, if you have a lot of cash and some credit, you can become a private lender. Usually a private lender does not want to devote a lot of time or skills into this craft. So they can start as a private lender and learn from there. In order to be a flipper, you should have some cash or access to cash from a private lender. You need some time and you need skills, which you can also develop along the way. So a flipper uses cash, time, and skills. Private lender uses cash and credit. And now let's go over to the landlord. The landlord uses some cash, loan, that can come from a private lender or a loan. They use credit in loans when they continue to amass more properties. You don't have to, but it can be used. They have a lot of skills and they maybe have less time than a flipper, so they can be a little bit more passive, so they don't need as much time. So notice the flippers in this corner, it uses, he or she will use cash, time, skills, not really any credit. The landlord will use cash, credit, and skills and doesn't need as much time. The wholesaler coming in, if you don't have any money to get started, start with your time and your skills. A private lender can come in with cash and credit, not much time or skills, but can get started with the cash and the credit. So those are the 4 types of investors in green and the 4 strengths, or what I call resources, in white. Now there's a 5th one, because when I first did a webinar about this, I talked about the 5 strengths. The 5th strength is team. So and you're going to develop the team as you go along. So we'll talk, that's going to be in one of the questions that was submitted that we go over today. So that's the Real Estate Investor Matrix. Sign up for the webinar, register, and you get it emailed to you for free. And I'm going to post up just a basic picture of a deal. And as I go through the questions, we'll kind of rotate through some of those pictures. So let me find the one I want here. Oops, a couple of those I don't need. Got a bunch of pictures buried back here, I guess. I can hide the investor matrix at this point. All right, well, let's go with this picture. All right, so let me stop the screen share for a minute. Let's go back to, all right, let's go to question number 1. And I've got some cards with these laid out for you. Let's hope you can see it. So question number 1 that has come in from many, many investors and students that I've coached over the years. How do I find a good deal? All right. How do I find a good deal? That's probably the most popular question that exists. So there are many, many ways to find the deal, but I want to make sure that you know the type of deal that you're looking for. Because if you're not looking for the right type of deal, it's pretty hard to find a deal. So there's 2 aspects of finding a deal: looking for the right one, and then the mechanics of finding it. So you really want to be clear on the type of house that you're looking for. This is the little investor house that my son made with his Legos. So it's a basic house. 2 to 3 bedrooms, 1 to 2 baths. It's from 900 square feet up to 1,600 square feet, maybe 18 in a different market, depends on where you're looking. So that's the size. There's a little RV on the side because we're in California. Notice there's no pool in the back. There's not a lot of landscaping that's going to cost you a lot of money. Of course, there's a little yard somewhere around there, but not in the Lego set. So that's the basic house. And then I'm going to screen share this house and go through some more answers to that question. So here is a basic house. Now, this house was probably 1,200 square feet. It was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath with a den. So what did we do to up the value? We added we changed the den into a bedroom, and we updated all the bathrooms. You know, this is not a flipping hangout, so I'm not going to talk about all the details, but that's the kind of deal you're looking for. The front's kind of overgrown. Nothing much had been done on it for, quite a long time. So, that's what happened with that particular house. So we bought this house. So later on, I'm going to talk about markets, but I just want to touch on this one while the picture's up. We bought this house for $220,000. Now this is in the San Diego market. I'm going to go through and show you a house, very similar size, very similar configuration, in probably 5 different markets that I've invested in and continue to invest in up through today. And they're going to be different prices for the same, but GD house, right? It's the same house. It's a starter home. So let me minimize this one and show you the next one. Okay. This house is in Phoenix. It's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house. Sometimes they convert the garage into an extra bedroom. But you see on this house, there's still a carport over there. We have a rental out there. I actually couldn't even find a picture of the rental. This is one that we wholesaled. So same house. This one's probably 1,000 to 1,100 square feet. And that's the house that you're looking for. Let me just get rid of that. Okay. So it's the same house. This house probably a few years ago when it was going at an auction, you could have gotten it for $35,000. 3 years ago, it was probably $50,000. Right now, this house is going for about $80,000. So that's what you would pay in that market. Same house. Let me pull up another one here. Okay. This is a rental I have in a suburb of Detroit in Michigan. This house we paid about $55,000 for probably 10 years ago. It looks beautiful now. It's all fixed up, but this is how we bought it. There is an identical model match down the street from this house right now, 3 houses away, for $13,000. So it's still the same house. It's I think 1,100 square feet, and it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a basement. It does not have a garage, which is kind of a detriment in Detroit, but it has a pretty good yard. So again, the same kind of house in a different market, and I'm letting you know the price ranges. So one reason that when people ask the question, how do I find a good deal, is you need to find the inexpensive houses in a market you're in. Right now, that house I showed you for the San Diego house, that house is now valued at about $500,000. We sold it for $340,000 or something like that, probably 3 or 4 years ago. So I wouldn't buy that house and flip it now. I would look in a different market. So let me find one more. I think I have one more. Okay, here we go. This is one of the first houses I bought as a wholesale deal. I bought this from another investor. So that's another way to get started. They were familiar with the market. They were finding a lot of deals, and they were able to wholesale this house to me. I think I paid $42,000 for this house, kept it quite a while as a rental. and, you know, fixed it up. So this is also a 3-bedroom, 1-bath house, probably 950 square feet. This house right now is probably worth about $5,000. I don't own it anymore, but the neighborhood went bad. So it's not a good place to own property right now in that particular, that's in the city of Detroit. And I work right now in the suburbs outside of Detroit. So those are a bunch of houses, very similar in size, that are in different markets for different prices. So those are things that, you know, I want you to consider when you do that. So while that's up, I may jump in and give you some ways to find a deal like this. Okay. So I mentioned that this deal I found from another investor. So you can call wholesalers in the market that you're in. So look on Craigslist, call a lot of the houses that are for sale by owner, because that really, if it's not all fixed up, it means it's a wholesaler. So there's a lot of wholesaler ads on Craigslist. Start calling them, find out what they have. If you're not buying it as a rental for yourself and you want to wholesale it, the deal is for you to be finding the buyer. So you can also have an ad on Craigslist and find buyers for these deals. If you have a wholesaler with too many deals and you find the buyer, then you guys can work on splitting, you know, the profit that's in that deal. It's an awesome way to get started. I have a couple students who started exactly that way. They found, I think someone else found the deal and they found the buyer. So they put up all their signs and their ads and found the buyer and split the profit, which was great. So another way is to get an investor website. There are a couple of places where you can do that. One of them is called Investor Carrot, and they're posting up investor websites. You do have to post your own ads to get traffic to the site, or you can start a WordPress blog and drive people to that site with your ads on Craigslist. Another way is to do letters. So I spent quite a bit of time last week talking about how to do a mailing, very, very detailed. So go to my YouTube channel on Wise Wealth University and look at my playlist. On my playlist, I have all of the details that you need to start up a letter campaign. And last week, we specifically went through how to do that. You can also go to my page, wisewealthuniversity.com/resources, and look up some of the links that I mentioned here. So some of the places where you can actually get your list of motivated sellers, you know, how to set up the letters. A lot of those things are set up on the page called /resources. Definitely another way to find a good deal is to network with some agents. Start calling up agents that are posting rehab houses on Craigslist, and you can look up on Trulia, Redfin, Realtor.com, a lot of the public MLS websites, and you can usually tell right on that those houses need work. Or in Craigslist, you can do a search for keywords, TLC, handyman, investor needed, contractor special, a lot of those different keywords. Just use one keyword at a time. You do not need to do multiple keywords, because that will limit the number of deals that come up, because it would mean that the search had to have all those keywords in there. And most people only put one keyword in their listing. So just search your keywords individually if you want to find some deals. Bandit signs. A lot of people do use bandit signs. You can buy them on the internet, have them shipped to your house, put them out. You usually have to do that on the weekend. There's a lot of rules about that in certain communities. So search into how to do bandit signs. I don't really do them here in Southern California, but they work great in other markets. And I have put them out, but I just don't get the results I want. I put more of my marketing budget into letters, and that works also because I can target multiple markets out of my county and out of state by doing letters. off from the comfort of my own home in my office. Another thing to do is just get some business cards and start handing them out to people, letting them know what you do, that you would buy houses for cash if someone wants to get rid of a house. So that's a great way, inexpensive way. Go to Vista, I think it's Vista Print, and get your business cards for free. All right, so that's how to find a good deal. Now, I'm going to stop that screen for a little bit and post the next question. I'm going to check the chat and see if anyone has. You can also write any questions you have in the chat roll. And I think some people have been answering the polls. So just to give you guys an idea of who's on the call right now tonight, 33 or a third of the people said that they have 1 to 3 wholesales, and a third of the people have 3 rentals, and another third of the people have none so far because they're just getting started. So kind of a balance between they've done a couple wholesale deals and they want to do more, hopefully, and some people have a couple rentals or more than 3 at least. So that's great. I'm glad you guys filled that out. That really, really helps me give you guys cool info. All right, let's see. So back to the chat. So if you have any questions, great. Start posting those questions and I'll look at those when I get through the next question. All right, so how do I find the right market? This is another really, really crucial question that real estate investors ask. How do I find the right market? So as I showed you with some of the pictures, I invest in quite a few out-of-state markets. I've probably invested in probably 8 different markets. And so I have some, information in a lot of those different places. So I mentioned the Detroit pictures that I showed you, Phoenix. Right now we're flipping houses in Sacramento. I've been flipping houses in San Diego. What else? I've had rentals in New Jersey, Hawaii, of course, Southern California. I also have houses in Salt Lake. So those are the different markets. And they all have different price ranges. So it's just really good to get on Craigslist, get on Realtor.com, Redfin, and look some of those things up and see what the price ranges are for the basic starter home. So don't forget that. Okay, so how do you find the right market? Let me just grab a picture here and post it for you. I think I'm going to go to this one. All right, so this is one of the flips that we did in Sacramento last summer. Oh, this is the other picture. I guess it was behind one. I didn't show you. The same kind of house. It's basically 1,200 square feet. This one actually was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, so it's a little bit bigger. But you notice it has the same, overgrown landscaping and needs work. I think we put a new roof on this particular house. So how do I find a good market to work in? Well, I'll start out by saying I really don't want you to buy any houses over 300K. So if you're in Southern California right now, probably not a good idea. If you're in Chicago, not a good idea, but you can go outside of Chicago into some of the poorer markets in Indiana and Illinois and find some really good deals. In Southern California, we have to drive pretty far to find those markets. One good one is Phoenix. It's only a 6-hour drive from me, so not too bad. We can go to the high desert in 5 to 6 hours, actually maybe 4 hours, and find some pretty good deals. I'd like you to be under 200,000. That's really where you find the best deals. And under 100, there's a lot of markets where you can find houses under 100,000. So that's a great place to start. A few weeks ago, I did a hangout and I went into detail on how to research some of these markets. And one of the websites I used was called Finest Expert. So go to my playlist on wisewealthuniversity.com and look at that particular hangout because I went into detail on how to find the right out-of-state market. That wasn't the exact title, but it's something pretty much like that. It's probably 3 or 4 weeks before this one. Look at the one on how to find out-of-state markets. And the website again is finestexpert.com. Great resource tool for you. And you can also look on Craigslist. Like if I look on Craigslist in my market, in my home market, I do not see that many for sale by owner deals. Everything is a broker. There's a couple flippers. There's a few wholesale deals, not that many, and they're much more expensive. Really here, we only do good flipping deals if we add a lot of square footage or value onto the house. Completely modify it, with a lot of permits, with permits definitely needed. Go to another market and you can do the basic rehab and still make some money. So you really need to look at the market and look at Craigslist. So if you go into Detroit, there's hundreds of people wholesaling. I mean, the Craigslist stream just goes streaming off your page while you're trying to read it. So, so do handyman search and contractor specials if you're going to go into markets like Indiana, Ohio, Detroit. Memphis has inexpensive houses, and also Florida, mostly on the west side of Florida. Good places to look. All right, so that's how to find a good market. Let me go into the next. So remember, guys, post some more questions up there. I'm going to go into the third question. So we do have a question from a listener, and this listener is actually trying to find a house for themselves, but they don't have any banks that want to lend to them. So I'm not going to, if you give me permission to give your first name, I will, but I'm not going to post anybody's first name. They would like to know how to find that type of house. So in the third question, I'm really going to dig into how to find money for deals. My suggestion for the homeowner, though, if you're trying to find a house for yourself, I would try to find a deal where a homeowner will sell you the house subject to their existing loan. And if you look at some of the successful real estate investors, some of them get started buying their own house subject to someone else's property, and they bought someone else's loan, and they bought a very nice house kind of to get started. But you can definitely do a starter home. You would want to post an ad on Craigslist. You'd want to look at houses that are listed for sale, maybe need some work. And you can offer the owner, look, you don't have to do any repairs. You don't have to do any termite work. All you have to do is sell us the house subject to your existing loan. So you definitely want to, explore what kind of terms they have and, get a printout and things like that. So that's one way to do it. You can also do it in a lease with an option to buy, and make sure that you would record your option against that property. Okay, so you want to make sure that you have an option that you can record, or else you may find yourself out in the cold. Right now with the new rules, they really can't take a large option fee from you. So it's really good if you can just do a regular lease and with an option, and not, you wouldn't be putting down an option fee, because they've really regulated that quite a bit at this point. So subject to the existing loan. The other way is maybe with a hard money lender, if you find a cheap enough house that you can afford the payments, or a private money lender that you happen to know personally that would like to get a really good return on their money, something they're not going to get at the bank. So that brings me to the third question. So I'm going to stop the screen. Now I'm going to have to hang up this call. Unfortunately, it's a sorry about the The only way I can do it is to just listen and hang out. Sorry, it's a telemarketer. It's that time of the night, right? All right, so how do I find the money for the deal? So that's question number 3. That's a very, very common question. All right, so let's go through some basics. I have bought deals just about every way you can possibly think of. I just posted actually an article on my blog, which is wisewealthuniversity.com/blog. And I have 2 articles on there about private lending. So I talk about all the different ways that I bought houses. And I'm going to show you this picture over here. So this picture, this house, I believe, was bought a combination of a credit card check and some cash. And I bought several other properties in the cheaper markets where I actually had 2, credit card checks that had a 0 interest loan. And after I rehabbed them, I was then able to refinance them into a regular loan and keep them as rentals. So that was like a really cool way to, get the house, no questions asked. You just write the check, put it in your bank, wait for it to clear, wait for the check to clear, the money to be seasoned, as the, escrow people called it. And then we closed. So not too bad. Loans, you can definitely get loans from a bank or from a mortgage broker. A HELOC, if you already have your own personal property, and I've done this before, you get a HELOC from your own personal property and then use the cash to buy the investment property that you want. And you can always use that to flip and then, put it back and buy another one. The other one would be IRA loans. If you're presently employed and you have a large IRA, you can borrow money from the IRA, and it's, I think it takes about 2 weeks to get one of those loans. It's not tied to the property, it's tied to your IRA. So you have to, make the payments and bring those back. But the payments really come out of your paycheck. So that's a way to do that. If you're already not with that employer, most employers have changed the rules now. And if you don't work for the employer anymore, you cannot borrow from that particular IRA. Which brings me to the next step is, if you don't work for that employer anymore, why not roll it into a self-directed IRA? And there's many, many of these companies around now. We use several of them. UDirect IRA, Entrust is a company, and I do use Equity Trust with some of my private lenders, but we like UDirect IRA. It's in Irvine, California, and also Entrust. But you can search self-directed IRA companies up on the internet, and you basically do a rollover where you roll your old 401k into the new self-directed IRA. Keep that in mind. What if you don't have any old IRA company or any old 401k from another employer? You want to talk to other people about that so they can become your private lenders. So even though you're not doing it, you can talk to people, and I do this with my private lenders, and I actually walk them through the steps and help them learn about self-directed IRAs, how they can roll it over, and how they can then invest in one of my properties. And certainly with all the layoffs we've had in the last 5 or 10 years, everyone knows someone who's been laid off, downsized, and has an old 401k kicking around. Don't invest it with your new employer. All they want to do is increase the amount of funds in their account, to reduce, their present fees or get a better deal or whatever it is. No, you want control over your own IRA money. So when you leave a job, roll that into a new account. All right. So the other one was, I mentioned home equity lines of credit. You can also get a business line of credit. If you do have a business, or you have properties that have been rentals for a long time, you can get a business line of credit. and use that to get started. And so the last one, which I'll delve into a little bit deeper, are private lenders. So remember the question number 3, how do I find the money? Private lenders. All the ways that I just listed for you can also be applied to private lenders. They can use their own credit. They could use a loan. One of my private lenders borrows money from his HELOC at 3% and lends it to me at 10%, and he makes 7% on the spread. It's not even his, it's not even his money really. It's tied to his house. A lot of people lend money from their IRAs, and we use those in private money loans. So I'd say mostly IRA money, also just cash that they have as savings. Now, retired people have cash as savings. They're getting less than 1% at the bank. So quite a few of my private lenders are or have been retired, and they never quit. I mean, once they lend to you and they're getting 10%, they just love it. So they can lend to you in 2 different ways. When they lend on a flip, we do not make any payments until we close the property, and they get paid out of escrow. If we keep it as a rental, then we'll start paying on a monthly rental income. As the rent comes in, we make payments to the private lender. So, I've worked on probably, I think I totaled it up the other day, $1,814,000 in private lending funds. So it's really good to get started. And most of you are probably going, how in the heck do I get started? All right, well, that's why you need the ebook. I'll get to that in a minute. But you're really going to start with circles, your circle of influence, like the people in your phone. They are your list of contacts. Go to your list of contacts and look at the people there and start talking to them. Have a conversation. Do you have an old IRA? What kind of interest are you getting at the bank? And start talking to them about the fact that you're in real estate investing and you could help them get a much higher return than they're getting right now. And they're not going to get their hands dirty. They're not going to work on the property. That's, what you're going to do. So start with your own circle of influence, and they're right there on your phone, that beautiful thing that's right in front of you. Let me go back to this here. Okay, mine's in a special case so I don't drop it. But anyway, your private lenders are right here, okay? Once you have that circle and you approach them, there's another circle outside that. And the circle outside that are their contacts, okay? They're in their phone. I'm using phone as an example. I mean, they're in your email. My email list is over here. So they're in your email. They're on Facebook, and they're in your phone. And you see them every day when you drop the kids off at school, go to the soccer game, when you go to work. Talk to people about real estate and let them know that they can get a better return than 0.8% on a CD. Okay, so that's where your private lenders are. A lot of people ask me, can you send me a private lender? A private lender's private. They are your own lender. They're called private lenders because they know you. They know, like, and trust you. That's the important deal. Know, like, and trust you. So my private lenders don't know you. Yours don't know me. So they don't want to lend to me. That's why people put their money in a bank, because they want to feel safe. Okay. So your private lenders are someone that you know or your friend knows. So in my ebook, and I'll show you this in a sec. Here's the ebook here. So if you want to get the ebook, you can click on that. It walks you through all the steps you need to find a private lender right out of your phone, your email, your contacts. And it gives you a few details on what kind of deal to present to them, how to show them the deal. And then you'll get, I think 4 emails reminding you to do the next step in your contacts and giving you some more information. So it's a little kind of mini e-course that comes with the ebook. So go ahead and download the ebook and get started finding your private lenders. My estimate is it takes often maybe anywhere from 1 to 6 months for a private investor to move from first hearing about it from you to actually being a lender and closing the deal. So a lot of people spend 90% of their time looking for the deal and then no time looking for the money. I want you to flip that around and spend 90% of the time looking for the money, and then it'll be easy to close deals because you know the money's there. You can make the offers. Okay, so flip that around. You can look for both of them at the same time, but remember, finding the money is going to take longer than finding the deal. Now, a lot of real estate gurus and trainers will tell you, go find the deal and the money will come. And I'll tell you one reason they say that is because the money will come from a hard money lender, because you'll have a deal, you need to close, you need to get money in 10 days. And the only people who are going to recognize the urgency are hard money lenders. If you give a sense of urgency to a private lender, they're going to back off. Okay. That scares them, because why would you be desperate for the money? You need to have that money lined up. They're comfortable with it. They've heard about it before. They've seen the paperwork. They understand how you're going to accomplish the deal. Then when you send them a deal, they're ready to go. So I say, flip it around, find the money first, then look for the deals. So go ahead, go over on that sidebar. I think it's on this side of my screen. I'm not sure, on your screen, and go ahead and download that book. If it doesn't show up and you're watching this later on the replay, it's wisewealthuniversity.com/PV lending. PV is for private. So PV lending. So go ahead and check that out. I'm going to look for the next question, and hopefully I answered enough questions about finding the money, and especially for the listener who put that in the chat. So if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and write your message in the chat, and I check back on it periodically. So let me go up to the next question. Okay, here we go. How do I find the right team? Sorry. So you notice a lot of the questions, I capitalize the word find, because a lot of what you're doing when you start as a real estate investor is finding things out. And I did a series that started back in October on my Hangouts, and it was called Find, Fund, Fix, and Flip. Okay, so those F's. So I was used to capitalizing those. So again, you can look on the playlist, and in the playlist, you'll find quite a few of those videos pertaining to that series about Find, Fund, Fix, and Flip. So, all right, how do I find the right team? This is something we don't talk about as often. So I'm going to grab you a picture of one of these other houses that I kind of put away here. Let me see. All right, well, let's look at that one. Oops. That picture went away. There we go. All right, so this is the house that one of the later houses I bought in the time that I was purchasing a lot of properties in Detroit, and I still own this one as a rental. We just rented it last month. I was very happy. So it was one of the better houses I bought, and I really like to buy brick because you don't have to paint the outside. You don't have to worry about siding. So brick houses are really cool. One thing I didn't notice when I bought it is it had a hole right here. Oops. There was a hole right here, and I actually had a raccoon that was nesting. It would come from the neighbor's property over here, climb up the fence, go to the top. There was a hole here and also one in the back. So this raccoon nested. We had it taken away, and it came back and re-nested again because it had had probably babies in that attic probably 3 times. So the next time we had to have it taken away like 50 miles or something and paid for it to be gone because it was going to keep coming back and digging a hole in our new roof. Anyway, so that's been a great rental. It rents for about $800 a month. And anyway, that's one of my rentals. So how do I build a team? And this comes up because remember, this house is out of state. So you need to really build a team in each location. So who's going to be on your team? You're probably going to find a loan person first, a mortgage person. And that's not just for yourself, but also for your buyers, because you want them to pre-qualify your buyer if you're going to retail a flip. Now, if you're doing wholesales, not a big deal. You just need to start building your buyers list by posting ads. But on this team, you're going to have a loan person. You would have other wholesalers if you're buying if you're trying to find deals. We find a lot of our deals in Sacramento from a small group of wholesalers. So we end up working with them a lot because we buy houses from them periodically. So, you can't do everything in this business. They're looking for properties all the time. They don't spend that much time on their flipping team, their contractors, because they're just finding deals. That's their part of it. So you can definitely network with wholesalers, network with your loan person. Often they're going to steer you in the good direction of a title company. I find it's really hard to compare title companies until you've actually done a deal with them. Although I have found a few that I called and asked them, can you do this? Can you do subject to? Can you do double closings? And I find whether people are easy to work with. Termites, you need someone to do a termite inspection. Most states now require a termite inspection before you sell the house. So we often get the inspection done for free with the promise that after we start working on the property, they'll come back and do, even if we fix all the termite problems, they'll come back and do a treatment and then offer a warranty to the new home buyers. So we do have a termite inspector on our team. Sometimes we have a house inspector because it's just really good to see if there's anything else wrong that the contractors missed when they did the inspection. Now, these are professionals that you're going to call in when you do a deal. That is totally different than the team that you want to build. That's really your company where you work together. So then you're going to want to find another investor who perhaps has other resources and another skill set that you don't have. And you're going to work with them on a daily basis or a weekly basis, trying to find deals and work together in building your company. That's a different team. That's really an in-house team as opposed to professionals who work for you for a fee, and those are kind of your outside team. So anyway, that's how you find the right team. You also go to real estate investment clubs and ask them for referrals about all the different people that I mentioned in the team there. The other place to look is Facebook groups. There are a number of Facebook groups on real estate investing. There's one on wholesaling. There's one specifically on rehabbing, and there's a lot of general ones just on real estate. So just search, Facebook groups for real estate. On G+, Google+, there are a number of real estate groups as well, and they're all quite large. They'll have thousands of people in there. Bigger Pockets is another place to look. So go check out the Bigger Pockets website, and you can find a lot of professionals on there. Now, also, again, you can find professionals on LinkedIn. All right, so LinkedIn is another place to find some professionals that you can work with. All right, so I'm going to check the chat, see if there's any more questions. For now, we will move into question number 5. And I'm going to leave the ebook up there now that we finished talking about the money. All right, question number 5 is, how do I know it is a deal? So, and this has to do more with your numbers and your analysis. How do I know that it's a deal? There's 2 parts to that question. So one is, depending on the price, you have to know it's a deal if you have the right size house. So that you definitely have to start with, okay? We're not going to do any luxury homes. I didn't even bring over the the Lego. Well, let me show it to you. I do have the Lego piece of the luxury homes right here in the office, just to show you what you don't want to do. All right. This is the luxury home. It has a nice limo on the side. It has a lot of landscaping. It has a pool in the back. This is the luxury home you're not going to buy, okay? You put that one down. Okay, so it's a deal. Number one, is it a starter home? Perfect. Okay, so then number two has to do with your analysis. So one thing you can do is use that website that I mentioned before, finestexpert.com, and that really analyzes it for you. It's like an Excel spreadsheet for every single house that's listed. So, but what if the deal that you want is not listed? You're going to have to do a little bit of work yourself in Excel, or just find a similar priced house in Finest Expert and kind of change the numbers in that spreadsheet, and it really does help you figure it out. So what are a couple of just rough numbers that you can use to help you know if it's a deal? And this helps you really just assess. This one particular number is going to help you even just with a basic market. So look at the price of the house and then look at what that house rents for. It's called the 1% rule, 1%, okay? So if your rent is 1% of the price of the house, then you're going to be able to make that deal work as a rental, and other investors are going to be able to make it work too. Okay, without going into the specifics of the taxes, the mortgage, and everything else, if the rent is 1%. So for example, if you can rent it for $800 a month and you buy it for $80,000, that's a 1% rule. You can buy that house. Okay, if you can rent it for $2,000 a month and you pay $200,000 for the house, that deal is also going to work as a rental. So that's the 1% rule. And of course, 1% works. If you rent it for $1,000 and you buy it for $100,000, that definitely works. If you rent it, usually in these houses, these markets like I showed you for Detroit, you're renting it for $800 and you only paid $50,000. Now, you have there's a lot of things with rehabbing the house over when people move out. There's a lot of longer vacancies because they didn't move out, but they just stopped paying. Ask me how I know. Why am I squinting about that? All right. So the rent, that's assuming that you can get that rent, with a 10% vacancy rate, all the time. If it's a really bad area and you're not collecting your rents, then the rule doesn't apply as much. So that's a really good rule. If you're in a market where that rule doesn't work, like for example, if I was to buy houses, the cheapest in the town we live in is about $500,000 right now. And $500,000 for the house. It's a 1,200 square foot house, 3-bedroom, 1.5 baths. It's only going to rent for $2,200. It's not the 1% rule. You don't want to do that. All right. So you can really just assess the whole market with that rule. So let me look for another rule here. Oh, okay. The 70% rule. So if you find a house and it's listed for sale, you're looking at the after repair value, figure out what it's really worth, what the nicer houses, fixed up houses are worth. So you look on Trulia or Realtor.com and you find other similar homes that have the same size, but are all fixed up. Usually if they're fixed up, they have like 25 pictures. So I just search for ones that have lots of pictures, because if you have that many pictures, you just rehabbed it and it's beautiful. So that's your after repair value. Then you take 70% of that. Okay, gotta turn off the phone here. All right, thanks. Anyway, a former student calling me up there. Anyway, so what you need to do, lost my train of thought. What was that? Oh, after repair value, take 70% of that minus the profit you want to make, minus the cost of the rehab, and that's your offer. So say it's $100,000 after repair value. 70% of that is $70,000. Subtract your $10,000 profit. Now we're down to 60. Subtract the rehab costs. Maybe they're 10. Let's say they're 10. And you're going to offer $50,000. Now, the person may have it listed for 75 or 80, but you're offering 50. So they're all going to be lots of lowball offers. Sometimes you have to make 25 offers to get the right deal. So don't be fooled into thinking it's a deal just because it's listed. Deals are not listed. Deals are made. And they're made because you negotiated them. Okay. So they're not listed. You don't find the deal, you make the deal. So it doesn't matter what the list price is. Don't worry about that. Okay. So remember, after repair value, take 70% minus your profit. Maybe you can make $8,000 and your rehab's 12 and you're going to offer 50. Maybe you're going to make 10 and the rehab's 15. So now you're going to offer 45. Okay. So that's really a rough estimate. If you really want to, calculate it out, I suggest you start working on an Excel spreadsheet, calculate out what the title costs are, the taxes, the holding costs, the interest, so that you're not guessing. That rule kind of works under 100,000, the one I just gave you. When you get up into the higher numbers, you have to be really careful about the costs, because the holding costs on a larger house are going to run up your numbers. So you really want to lay those out on an Excel spreadsheet. All right, so let me check the chat, see if we have any extra questions posted. Let's see. Okay, so I have another question about private money. So I'm going to answer that question. At the same time, I'm going to put up the ebook while I talk about that. So there are some restrictions on private lenders who come from overseas. And I haven't used any of them myself, but I have noticed that when you do an escrow, you do have to check boxes to say whether the investors are from overseas or not. So I am definitely not an expert in that area. I would definitely look into whether they can invest or not. Of course, they could always put money into a fund here or something like that, and have it grow from there. Then there was another part of that question. Let me just check. Okay, documents. All right, so the documents are going to be handled by escrow. That's the really good part for you. What that person's going to get, and it differs in the state, depending on which state you're in, but they're going to get a note and a deed of trust. Some states are mortgage states, so they're going to get a mortgage on the property. So the mortgage is recorded against the property. The deed of trust is recorded against the property. The note is basically the note that you sign detailing out the terms, all the terms, interest, when we're going to pay you off, and you're going to sign that. The deed of trust is then recorded by the county, and the person holds the note. Remember, with all the loan problems, that banks couldn't even find the original notes because they'd sold them, divided them up and sold them to overseas investors and all that sort of stuff. So they couldn't find the original note. But when you go to escrow, your private lender needs to have the original note. They have to mail the original note into escrow. If you don't, then you have to go through some other paperwork which says we lost the note, and there's an affidavit and things like that, where people have to get it notarized that they don't have the note anymore, and that's kind of a hassle you don't want to go through. So they do get a note and a deed of trust. That's really all they get as the investment. What I like to do is send people updates on the property. So with my investors, I email them pictures, I email them videos, I email them, we even do hangouts where we talk with our team and broadcast that and send them a little video clip talking to them about what's happening, with that particular investment that week. So that's really a good way to follow up with them, and they enjoy it. Most of them never come live. They just watch the video later. So anyway, I hope that answers that question. Let's just check if we have any more. Anyway, those are the two documents that I covered. Again, I don't have any new people on the poll, but basically a third of the people have done a couple of wholesales, and a third of the listeners tonight have done more than 3 rentals, and a third are just getting started. So kind of the broad range there. So that's the ebook. If you want to get started with private lending, that's really the great place to start. Remember, it's your circle of influence, and these people they're already there on your phone. You just don't know who has money, or who has a brother who has money, or a cousin who has money, or, you just have to think about it. And it's not going to happen on your time frame. People do things on their own time frame. All right. So for example, I'll talk to someone about it, and they're kind of maybe interested, but then all of a sudden something changes in their life. It's about them. So when something changes in their life, they're ready to invest, and then they contact you. But if you never brought up the topic in the beginning, they wouldn't even think about contacting you. So you have to start the conversation. That's really what it's about with private lenders. And remember, you are helping them make so much more money than they can make in the bank. Anywhere from 6 to 10% is a great return to get these days, considering, what the banks have. Hard money lenders are going to cost you quite a bit more. So really, really find your own private lenders. That's my advice for tonight. So anyway, thank you very much for attending the call. I'm really glad that everyone was able to join me tonight. Love having you here. And I'm so excited to just share with you my experience with real estate investing. I'm going to just quickly go through, all the questions that we did tonight, just so you remember. Okay. So we talked about, how do I find a good deal? And remember, that has to do with the type of property. Find the right property, and then you're going to be able to use all of your different techniques that I gave you to find the right deal. Next, how do I find the right market? Again, I gave you a few tips and websites, how to find the right market, and also how to assess the price of the properties in that market to know if that's the right market for you. How do I find the money? I went into some details of places you can find the money, and then also my ebook, where to find private lenders to help you find the money. How do I find the right team? Remember, there's 2 teams. One is the team that you have in your office that you work with, probably a partner, and then the other team are professionals that you can find by networking with people at a RIA club or talking to other investors. And those are ones that, are going to work with you on the deal, and even work with your buyer on the deal. Those can include mortgage people and wholesalers, escrow people, and remember to network also with real estate agents. Some of them work specifically with investors. How do I know it's a deal? I gave you 2 different ways to do that. Just really quick, cut and dirty numbers. One is the 1% rule, and the other one is to use 70% of the ARV, and then start subtracting your costs off after that. And remember, all good deals are negotiated and made. All the deals are not found. One of the houses that I showed you later, I'm looking over at my other screen that has all the houses on it. That deal in California, that was negotiated. We found the cracked slab. We talked to the owner. We said how much it was going to cost. We also took over some of the problems that they had with the property. And that just made it a lot easier for them to get the deal done and move on with their life. And sometimes that's really what people need to do. So remember, the deals are not listed. You actually make the deal by your negotiation and by your offers. So anyway, those are the questions for tonight. Thank you all for joining me. I do this every Thursday night. next week, I have a flipper and an experienced real estate investor coming to interview with us, and he's going to talk to you about his flips that he does in San Diego County. And I really look forward to hearing all of the tips and tricks that he's going to share with us. So please join me next week as I interview a very successful flipper, and hopefully we can all learn something from him. So thank you very much for being with me tonight. I'm going to close out with my little video. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, I will see you next week, same time, same channel. Thank you all for coming tonight. I really appreciate you. Here comes the video. Good night.